Ever wonder what really goes on inside an investor's mind? Welcome to the Angels Brief podcast. Each week, we sit down for raw, unfiltered conversations about their decision making process, their biggest wins, their worst nightmares, and everything in between. Just real talk about what it takes to spot the next big thing. This podcast is co-hosted by Tim Moore, the CEO of Clixie.ai, and Doron York, the CEO of CitySide Ventures and the co-founder of Birmingham Angels. So, let's get inside their heads.
Hey, Tim. Good Monday.
Hey, Doron. Happy Monday to you too, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to do it. So today we want to talk about what type of startup DNA we're looking for.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if it makes sense, but it's the difference between making money and losing money.
Well, that's something that really would make sense to me in that respect. So what do you look for?
Right. So remember, we'll put it in the context that it's based on, I don't know, thousands of startups that we're looking for in the last few years. We created this model that we bucket the companies into three main categories. We have the game changer and the disruptors. We have the originals, and then we have the copycats or the lookalike.
Okay.
Right. What's the difference between the three? So disruptors and game changers are the company that change the course of an industry, disrupt the way we do things right now. It's typically a very expensive endeavor because disruptors will require a lot of money to fight the resistant movement of
the incumbents
or the current companies with solution in the marketplace. And if they succeed, it's 100x plus return. If they fail, a lot of money go down the tube. So game chasers and disruptors for early stage investors could be a little bit risky. And they will have to raise a lot more money in the future, which means that as early stage investor, we're going to find ourselves kind of get squeezed in the bottom, as Togo done. Originals is the one that we like because originals is the companies that they solve an existing problem in a creative and original way that save time, money, and ease.
That's a great definition of it. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So they didn't disrupt anything necessarily. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They're just creating a new way to solve an old problem.
Great. Okay.
Right. So we have a company like this in our portfolio, MagWorks. I mean, they took a product like headlighting for cars and after, 100 years of doing it the same way, they decided to do the same headlights, the same design, but using different materials. And they become cheaper, lighter, and brighter.
Absolutely.
Right? The copycats and lookalikes is a company that develop product that looks like other product. They try to imitate or look alike, like Facebook or like Amazon or like one of the big brands.
Sure.
And they think that if they do that, they may create some confusion with the audience that people will think that
some association with that larger brand, perhaps.
Yeah. Or they're trying to copy something that's already exists in the market, but they're doing it in a not just a good way.
Got it.
It's not as good as product as the original. Right? It's the same as if you go to the drugstore, you can buy the big brands. You can buy the Pantene or the L'Oreal, the big brand, or you can buy all the off-market brands.
Yes.
That some of them design their product to look alike this one, but it's not.
Right.
Right. But it's kind of fooling me as a consumer. So that's the main thing. So we ask ourselves the first question: Are they disruptors? Are they originals or are they copycats? Sometimes it's not a straight answer, but you can tell up front if, wow, this guy is really disrupting something, and this guy, it's an interesting way to solve the problem, and then you can smell a copycat from a mile away. So we kind of, the DNA you're looking for, it's kind of distinct narrative attribute of each company. So the first one is a scalable tech. It's have to be a tech that could be scaled. Scale, I mean, going from 1 user to 10,000 users
very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yes.
If it's a tech that limited to certain vertical, a certain context, and
Yes.
it's not scalable,
Mm-hmm.
could be limited in many ways. You have to be capital efficient. So we need to see that the startup founder either their own money or raise money, but they officially manage the money they raise to get to where they're at. If I can take the same company, everything being equal, a company got from point A to point B with $1 million, and a company did it for $350,000, that's capital efficient. Profitable revenue models. So no more freemium, no more free, and we charge you later. I want to know that the company will be able to get paid from day one. And if the customer not willing to pay from day one, then it's not a profitable revenue model.
Makes sense.
Because as a CEO of Microsoft, we're going to change it a little bit. The CEO of Microsoft announced a couple of weeks ago that AI could be the end of SaaS model, right? So it was the holy grail of investors,
It was.
right? SaaS model is great. People sign a contract, they pay you subscription, it's recurring revenue. The whole recurring revenue model, it's come to question now.
Yes.
How fast, how quick, when, we don't know.
Retention, churn, all these things.
But it's come to question, not only because of AI, by the way, because the Z generation, or they call them the Zinzes, whatever I forgot how they.
The Zeds.
Yeah, can't keep track. They said that it's not only the AI, but because the younger generation, they prefer a model, pay as I need it kind of thing versus pay to have it. So, for example, you ask a lot of young people, my son, for example, you can pay $10 a month to subscribe to Netflix, which is $120 a year. But my son came, he said, Dad, I think in a year I watch maybe 5 movies from Netflix. So if I pay $5 every time I rent a movie from Netflix, so $120 divided by 5, this is like what? 10, 20, 25?
$12.50 or something like
So
that.
they
$12.
the same happened with the microinsurance and fractional insurance and all that. They're not willing to buy those subscriptions and just to have them. They want to pay as they want to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to impact the future model. We're investing in a pre-seed and stage level. Why? We're not going Series A and B. Because in a pre-seed and seed, you invest small amount of money, you get decent position in a company, and according to Carta, most of the acquisition in the last 3 years done between seed to Series A.
Seed to Series A.
So, which means if I invest that early, if I invested early, the company may not need to raise 3-round funding in the future. So I maintain my decent position. We looking at company raising $500,000 to $1.5 million, not more than that, because again, when you raise a larger round, and you're not an experienced funder, and you didn't prove that you know how to raise money, it will take you a long time to raise the money.
It will.
Especially in today's environment.
Especially now.
$4 to $6 million valuation. We actually kind of opted from 6 to 8 post money. Although I always prefer company come with lower valuation, but you have to be justified valuation. I don't want to get an answer from a founder say, like my advisor told me, or we check what's the average in the market right now. No,
Right.
I mean, justify your valuation.
Yeah.
At least one full-time founder, so no part-time
Right.
people. They have to be market ready, not necessarily in the market yet, but they have to be market ready. 3 to 5 years exit horizon. Although in some cases it's maybe be 5 to 7, but we like the shorter, horizon. And we look in Michigan first, but if we can't find a Michigan, we look in the Midwest, United States, and then the rest of the world.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So as far as like board seat available, things like that.
So yeah, so so this is that was kind of like the DNA of the startup we're looking for. Now the deal making guideline that we're looking at is one, we want to be in at least 10% ownership position.
Yes.
Now it's not always the case. I think I looked at the average yesterday. We had about 7.5%.
Mm-hmm.
You were shooting for 10 because again, remember we're going to be diluted at least twice in the fundraising cycle. So we want to make sure that we have a decent position. We're not going to commit more than 20% into the run. So if you raise $1 million, we're going to go as maximum 200. If you raise $2 million, it's going to be maximum 400. again, our average right now is actually 21.5%, but that's kind of the baseline.
Got it.
We always going to reserve the Pareto right in the deal so we can catch up in the next round to make sure we're not losing too much in our position. Every time that, every deal we put it on the table that we want a board seat or at least an observer seat,
Yes.
if it's possible, if it's available. We have a lot of investors in a group that would like to take a board position, and we'll welcome that. We always going to invest in preferred stock, not in common stock. And we want to make sure that at least 20% of the round is already committed to. So if you come and raise $1 million, I want to know that $200,000 are already committed to, not self-circle, committed to.
Right.
Founder, no offense to you guys, can be a little bit vague about it, kind of making it self-circle to almost committed. Did you got the note signed, the money's in the bank? No, it's not committed.
That's fair enough.
Right? So that's kind of the overall guideline in making the deal. There's a couple things we're not going to do. We're not doing safe.
Yep.
And this is a whole episode we're going to do in the next couple of weeks about safe versus convertible note. We are not doing safe.
We don't like safe. There's no benefit for the investor to do safe. When startup founders say to me, yeah, but it's cheaper than doing convertible note because you don't. No, we have convertible note that we recycle 150 times. We don't need the attorney for that. We can do it ourselves. So there's no difference in the cost. It just do not give the investor the position they're looking for. And I talked to a few investors that invest in safe.
One of them actually said, it was 8 years ago, and he said, we still didn't settle it. Because safe always find himself in the bottom of the pile, and it's not a debt instrument, so I don't have any seniority on a balance sheet with the safe.
Right, exactly.
Now, safe is very good. Later stage, where the company proved track record and revenue and all the stuff, if I do safe on the series A and B, I will feel more comfortable because there's something to rely on. But when you do early stage investing on a safe, it's almost committing suicide.
Well, it's too risky, as you just said, because even if you win, you're going to wind up at the bottom of the cap table.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter.
Right. And plus, there's another downside for it. The IRS don't like safe because there's no clear face value to the safe.
Mm-hmm.
Convertible note, I give you $10,000 into 8% interest, there's fixed value.
Done.
So if I lost the money, I deduct it from my taxes. When I bring a safe to that, the IRS have very tough issue dealing with the safe because there's no value on it.
Because it's not on your books, right? It's
Right.
not as a liability.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So what are the top 10 industries that you look for?
well, it's kind of changed recently
there you go.
with a lot of things, but the top 10 industries or market sector we're looking at in no particular order, but it's intelligent commerce is the one that we used to call it intelligent commerce. Now with the evolution of AI, but it's applying intelligence into commerce to make the consumer interaction with the e-commerce more personable.
Mm-hmm.
Artificial intelligence, of course, agriculture and food tech. I think it's the next thing that we'll see a lot of innovation in the space just because our food supply chain is completely screwed up right now. Educational tech, especially with AI right now, we're going to see a lot of evolution in educational tech. We already see some.
That's with me.
Yeah, with
With
Clixie,
Clixie, yeah.
but also a couple other platforms that came recently about helping students using AI in their study. Mobility, micromobility, we're in Michigan after all. Although, despite other investor point of view, I think mobility and automotive in general is going to be on a back burner for a while.
I think it's gone down, and I think it's going to be there for a little bit.
Yeah, it's going down temporarily. It's going to come back. The question is what's going to be the direction. It's going to be hydrogen. It's going to be hybrid. It's going to be, we don't know. So
Question mark, yeah.
So the investing in mobility and automotive right now, it's still valid, but it's just going to be a long cycle to get to the finish line. Fintech, although I think that fintech got to a certain level of saturation in the market right now. Wearable tech, it's going to be the next thing. Everything that it's not just the watch. Everything that we carry on us is going to have tech to it. Med tech and health tech, it's still going to be one of the hottest market to be in. And Industry 5.0, which is now we know what it means. It Industry 4.0 with AI on the top of it.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Right.
So would that also be called the future of work? Because I've heard that referred to. AI is not, it's about agency now. It's not about LLMs and generative models. It's just basically about efficiencies, agency, and future of work.
It went from being an app to a platform to vertical to now it's agent AI, but and we don't know what's going to be the next thing.
Right.
It's going to come because
Exactly.
the evolution is so fast that we can't track it.
Right.
We know that this one thing is for sure. According to the World Economic Forum, they said that by the end of this year, AI is going to cause 85 million jobs to disappear. But in the same token, they said that it's going to create 97 million new jobs.
There you go.
Right.
So net 12 million.
So, yeah. So if you look at the evolution of technology over time, the equilibrium always works. So when the internet came, everybody said, oh, and all e-commerce site, retail is dead. Retail adjust. It wasn't like it used to be before,
Sure.
but still. And then when blockchain came to the market,
Sure.
everybody said, okay, all the databases are dead. Now it's going to be decentralized this and decentralized that. It didn't cause that much of a steer. So when I asked Doug when he was here, so should we invest in utilities or should we invest in where's the return? I think the future of work is that AI will enhance human performance. It's not to replace human performance, because until we solve the false positive in AI, human will still need to be involved in the last step.
Hallucinations are bad for everybody.
Yeah. The last stop, so AI can collect information, analyze, organize it faster than humans, but humans still will have to be the last stop before it become actionable until, and Doc claimed that it's going to be faster than we think, but I don't, and plus we don't know what the regulator is going to do. Right. So the other point that I want to make is we looking for companies that incorporated in the U.S. We have a hard time investing in company out in other countries that relying on their system and not the U.S. system. It's just easy for us as an investor to deploy capital here, work by U.S. laws and regulators than anything else. So we require the companies that we invest in going to be a U.S., at least incorporated as a U.S. entity. That
makes good sense. So are there any big no's other than the things that you've just gone through? I mean, when someone comes in as far as a company goes or a sector?
I said the big no is a safe.
Right.
The other one for us is if the valuation in any shape or form is going to be more than 10 million, we're probably going to say no.
That makes sense.
Not the U.S. entity.
Any vertical you won't touch.
Yeah, we're not going to touch cybersecurity.
There you go. Interesting. That's a hot one, too.
It is, but according to the Israeli Innovation Authority, the ratio for cybersecurity companies is 750 to 1.
Wow.
1 out of every 750 startups actually going to make it.
That's what I'm saying. That's incredible.
It's become risky, it's become expensive, and it's become high liability for cybersecurity company in today's world. One crazy lawsuit about breach of data can take a company down.
Absolutely.
And the cybersecurity insurance is getting more expensive. And cybersecurity now faced with AI threat, which they have no clue how to deal with. Everybody's scrambling right now to try to find, because AI can technically creating a make-up entity that now cybersecurity will have to detect which one is real, which one is not. And this is, according to some cybersecurity expert that I talked to, it's not an easy task.
Digital twinning is difficult to do. I mean, it's difficult to ascertain which is the real one. Yeah, it's a real thing.
So, and plus, so from that perspective, we think it's such a saturated market and so much big players in the market, and it just doesn't make sense for it to invest. We don't do anything that it's illegal or immoral or anything like that.
Which is good.
You know,
we stand by that.
No, we're not going to do porn. We're not going to do. we don't do cannabis just because it's federally not legal yet.
Sure.
We staying away from climate tech and alternative energy.
because Warren Buffett keeps saying it again and again, year after year after year, crude oil is still the cheapest way to produce energy. And all the other one is as noble as they can be, they still not profitable. So for early stage investors, it doesn't make any sense because most of the climate change, climate tech technology is like a 10 years investment.
Say it's long off. There's a long tail on any kind of return on that.
And there is, not in the books at least, some big success story of climate tech company that either exited big money or made a ton of money. And all. So it's, and just a couple other things just in the background. I'm not for it or against it, but we're not doing impact investing, which is thesis is based on do things that good for the environment and do different things. We invest in things that, yes, if it's do good for the environment, it's going to be a plus, but that's not a thesis behind it. We are not investing in unserved founder just because it's the right thing to do. We invest in unserved founders only if they're the right founder to invest in. So it doesn't matter if they, where
doesn't
they come
matter.
from. Yeah.
I mean, a founder's a founder's a founder.
Exactly. And we don't invest in brick and mortars or like, businesses that require a lot of capital to operate. Like
so an 8 to 10x return would be kind of the benchmark. That's
we're looking for 10x companies. Yeah.
Yep. And so, I mean, in brick and mortar typically don't sell it at that high of a multiple.
No.
So, I mean, that's what you're looking for is you're looking for companies that fit the DNA, easily scalable, good founders, high return on investment, and quick exits if you can.
We don't do CPG. I mean, that's another things we stay away from because again, it's such a crapshoot to get into the market and really succeed.
Yes.
with those products. There's a venture group that specializes in this, but for early stage investor, it doesn't make sense. The shelf space in retail becoming even more and more expensive as they, you see the big retailers as Walmart or Myers, they going to smaller footprint stores, and so the shelf become more expensive.
Yeah.
For investors, for anybody selling product.
So if you were looking at things that are coming up in the market, I mean, again, Doron, you've seen so many different companies and you've got this unique way of looking at things over time and with volume. What are the changes that you're seeing right now in the companies that are coming to you? Are you seeing better companies, worse companies, better prepared, less prepared?
Well, unfortunately, I can answer the question two ways. We see more bad companies, and not because they're increasing bad companies. It's just because our deal flow exploded. So we see a lot more,
you see all companies more.
Yeah. So,
good, bad, and different, right?
I think there's a clear distinction that people need to make, especially investors listening, between an AI company versus a tech company that's utilizing AI.
Exactly.
Which is two different,
very much
completely
so.
animals. AI companies is companies that focusing on developing AI models or language models and or task or prompt in AI. So they engineering AI.
Yes.
Most companies are tech companies that utilizing AI as a utility on top of the platform. So when Father comes sit in front of me and said we are a AI company, 9 out of 10 they're not.
I totally agree with you.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's become sexy to say we're an AI company.
But do you think it's sexy anymore, or do you think it's just becoming worn out and threadbare?
Actually, for us as an investor now, it's become a red light when they say we're an AI company, like all of my it's still the buzz out there,
sure,
right?
Sure.
For many people. Every day, as Doug said, every day there's some new tool that you get across of, oh, this can do this and this can do that, and it becomes almost impossible for humans to catch up with that.
Yes.
But we do think that in any other technology evolution before, it will settle to be a utility of everyday's life in some point that you take it for granted, your cell phone or your Siri, and now it's Siri with the intelligence, AI and all that.
It'll become commoditized.
It's going to be, it's going to democratize to a point that it's going to be part of everything you touch, and your car, your phone, your TV, whatever it is, your washing machine. And then it's become like another things that we're using in life for the common human.
Exactly.
For the people that developing technology, there's excitement from one side, extreme excitement, and then there's fear on the other side, right?
I'm excited about saving times at work. I'm excited about that writing a blog post for me instead of me doing it. I'm afraid of AI incorporating autonomous driving, making decision how the car should drive. I'm afraid of AI flying airplanes and things of that nature. So there's certain things that we can be with, and certain things that like scare the hell out of us, right?
Makes sense.
So I don't know, but it's definitely impact our life in ways that people don't realize yet.
Yes.
And it's moving faster than any other technology evolution we experience.
It is unprecedented in our lifetime. Moore's Law, you might as well throw it out the window. And even though my last name is Moore, it wasn't my law.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, 7 years, it feels like 7 minutes. I mean, the rate at which things double or change, it used to be 7 years. And now 7 months, 7 weeks, it's insane.
Right.
The iteration is crazy.
So we look to see what type of technologies and what type of companies more likely still are going to have a lot of market to address, and they're not based on the ability to utilize AI or not, that at least 10 years in the future. So we believe in medical devices and med tech still going to be a big market. We're looking at intelligent commerce. It's the utilization of AI to make my journey as a consumer a little bit more suitable.
Yes.
We're going to see technologies that allow us to increase productivity, and like the agent AI, that taking some of the mundane tasks away.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But that's a short-term return, like 3 years or so, because if those companies not being sold within 2 or 3 years of starting the business, they become irrelevant.
They really do at that point. Yeah, they're just zombies at that point, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we as an investor need to think that everything that we believe was the holy grail of venture capital, we need to question it right now. Because if we don't, we'll find ourselves with a lot of bad companies in our portfolio. And there's other specific sectors like hard tech, for example, producing real product like Megworks, or the company we're going to see on Wednesday, which developer of refrigerating system without
Cooling mechanism, just a chip.
Amazing companies come through these doors. Amazing.
Right? So there is, but all of what I will say this, everything that the venture capital market was based on come to question right now. That's why you see decrease in capital deployment right now, because all stop and say, wait a minute, what do we don't know?
That's a really interesting take, because I thought, we were seeing a little bit more of people opening up their purses again in their pocketbooks, that there's money getting off of the bench, getting back into the investment game. The PE has not been given the returns that it was supposed to, and people aren't as engaged with so money's coming both upstream and downstream into this space within Angel.
It's true to a degree. I think you see a lot more early stage money in play that we've seen in a long time.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily to do with the technology evolution. It's to do with the greater transfer of wealth that we're in the midst of, which is money change hand from baby boomer to the next generation. And the younger people are more prone to invest in startup and tech because they understand it more than the generation before them. So there's a lot of money on the sideline.
There you go.
I think, yes. But they want to be hands-on. They don't necessarily want to be, listen, angel investors are the first outside money in a company. Angel investor, for the most part, are business operators. They came from family businesses. They came from 40 years careers operators. They business builders. Venture capitalists, for the most part, running by MBAs and financial people.
Yes.
So it's all about financial calculation. It's a fund. Take the 2% management fee, 20% upside. They live on a management fee. They're making financial calculation. They're not operators. I see so many venture fund with MBA guys that just finished 2 years ago, got the MBA, and they get to venture capital. They don't never build a business. They don't understand how business works. And then you have the private equity guys that are really high-end operators, but the angels create the jobs. The venture capital reorganize the capital in the company, and the private equity rearrange the assets in the company. Technically, angel create job, private equity get rid of jobs. 'Cause-
If you look at it in the life cycle, you're right. I mean,
Right.
that's exactly it.
So venture capital, I mean, the private equity guy have some challenge right now because they used to buy the mid-market private equity guys used to buy a company,
Uh-huh.
make it profitable, make sure that they show a big EBITDA, and they flip it up to the bigger private equity, and that have a big portfolio. This chain is broken. They can't flip it up anymore, those multiples up.
Got it.
So they need to buy to get the company and hold it for 10 years and operate it and get profit. So for some people that are looking for 10%, 20% return a year on profit, it can be a good deal. But that was not the premise of private equity for a long time.
Yeah.
So I know because here in Capital was in town raising capital. And this time, the first time that Mike said that he had the hardest time to raise capital because the last fund didn't perform as well as they expected. And they're all the same way. And you have a problem in real estate because a lot of private equity like real estate.
They do.
And real estate is not stabilized yet on a commercial side.
No.
So it's like, okay, I'm buying real estate, but then what?
So what do I hold it? Do I
Right.
flip it? What do I do with it?
Right.
Right. Exactly.
So that's and the venture capitals. 10 years ago, 7 years ago, there was we went from the mega fund to the
Mhm.
to the small VC fund, to the micro fund, as they call it, $50 million fund. And now those funds going away and they go back to the larger funds because they prove they can't sustain themselves on a $50 million fund. And they are not business operators. So every venture fund have like 5 GPs and 6 people working for them, and they need money to operate and collect the management fee. And they realize, well, we can't do it with $50 million.
Yeah.
So they go back to the mega funds, and the mega funds, Andreessen Horowitz and
Yeah.
all those guys, Sequoia, talking in the media recently, saying they're more focusing and supporting their existing portfolio right now.
Yeah.
Put more money in company that can push over the edge than looking for new ones. So it's not the amount of capital is shrinked. It's just the mindset of the VC kind of put on hold for a minute and say, okay, we need to see how it all played out.
Yeah, and this is fascinating. And you and I have actually spent a lot of time talking about this, about the role right now that Birmingham Angels is taking in the market because it's being underserved. Because the bar for seed investment or even pre-seed has been raised to what typically would have been considered before like a Series A or something like that. When you come in as a pre-seed and people are asking you, what are your customer base and what's your ARR? Wait a minute, that's not the conversation we're having at this level. So like you said, all of your deal flow is increased because the VCs are no longer serving the market that they used to. So it's been left to the angel investors to pick up the slack.
Right. But what the founder need to live up to is pitching to angels is different than pitching to VCs.
It is.
If you use the same pitch for angels, you're not going to get the kind of traction you're looking for the VC. The VC is running after the shiny object. They're running after, oh, Sequoia's in the deal. I need to be there too. They're making decision, not smart business decision. I'll say
FOMO.
this.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you see all this series in TV, like Silicon Valley and all this stuff, I mean, they're telling the story about. And by the way, Silicon Valley is drying out from that perspective in many
Yeah.
ways. Angel investors are different animals.
There.
The VC want to know when you're going to exit and what kind of multiples you can give me on an exit and how long it's going to take. Angel investor would ask you, okay, you're going to sell to independent dentist offices, right? Yes. How are you going to do it? The angel investor would like to know how you're going to get there, and you want to show them the roadmap how to get there, not just tell them that you're going to get there. So if they don't understand how the moving parts going to come together, they won't. I have an investor called me this morning. We're looking at a deal that it's not a lot of money, but he called me back, said, "Look at the finance, look at everything else. I can put it together." And I said, "What exactly?" So he told me, and I get it. He said, either I'm trusting the founder that somehow he's going to get to the bottom line, but from everything I see in front of me, I don't see the pathway. Now, 10% out of all the company we're seeing may be in this situation that I believe the founder going to get there, but it's hard to explain how. And all the other cases, you have to have certain map Are you going to go and knock on the door? Are you going to send them an email? Are you going to stop in a parking lot when they come to work in the morning? Are you going to, how are you going to do
How are
it?
we going to do it? Exactly. But isn't that too, wouldn't you say, because the angels have more the investor, the mindset of a business person rather than the VC mind of a banker? Where, I mean, you just said it perfectly. I mean, the angel is going to sit down and say, how are you going to do that? Because maybe I can give you some advice, or
Right.
maybe I can bring somebody in my network. So angels also bring intelligent money to the table, whereas a lot of times VCs won't unless there's another company in their portfolio that they can introduce you to.
I can tell you, I'm not going to say with 100% degree of certainty, but my assertion from everything I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
is that angels going to make less mistake than the VC going to make in the investment,
Wow, I love that.
just because they came from the business background. They're entrepreneurs, they're business builders. They are a little bit more connected to the operation side of the business and understanding the nuances of, taking left turn or right turn and all that stuff, or using partner channels or salespeople, or, I mean, which the VC in many cases not going to get to that resolution, and if at all, yeah. So, and remember the last thing I'm going to leave you with:
Okay.
angels invest their own money.
Right on.
VC invests other people's money.
Yes.
Different consideration.
One's going to be a lot more careful where they're writing in. Very careful when how many zeros are at the end of that check. Absolutely.
I actually learned something pretty eye opener. I had an eye opener, like epiphany moment last week,
I'm listening.
when I actually sat down with a couple very wealthy individuals that just recently sold family businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned something that I didn't know. And I didn't know. It's like, well, I was completely blind to it, if you want to say. There's a saying among founders or people on the sideline, they think that people that's sitting on $300-400 million, they are very easy on the trigger to write. It's not a big deal for them to write a check. I actually learned it's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to get them to write the check, because, so I looked at those two individuals and I said, why do you think it is? And they all looked at me kind of, and I was dumbfounded. They said, because we sweat bullet to make the money. We know what it takes to make it. We didn't earn the lottery. We worked for 30 years, coming in the morning and going to the shop and schlepping the thing and actually sweat to make the money. So we know what it takes to make it.
Yeah.
That's why we are critical about writing the checks. Now, if we write the checks, we'll be committed to it, but it's not like it's going to change my life if I'm going to give you $500,000 from all the money I have in the bank. No. But because I know, I feel at my fingertips how much sweat and how much scars I have in making this money, that's why I'm critical about it. The VC, much easy trigger because it's not their money.
Yeah. They just got somebody to put money in that sense. Well, and I mean, blood, sweat, and tears. That is every founder. That is what you build your company on. And if you're not prepared to bleed or to sweat or to cry, then you're in the wrong business. You really are.
Right.
And I think that an angel who has been through that will recognizes game. And I can see that if you run into a speed bump, you're not going to stop. I mean, you're going to go over it. You might slow down a little bit, but you're going to adapt. You're going to adjust. And they look for the things that they see in themselves, perhaps resiliency and other things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the people that, experience getting punched in the face once or twice.
Over and over.
And have some scar to prove it.
Well, I mean,
I know. So, it's a different breed of people when you talk to angels, when you talk to VC.
Yes.
And founders need to know the difference between the two. If they get the angels behind them, they're going to get a lot more than money. The VC doesn't add too much value,
Exactly.
in my opinion.
No.
Some do. I mean, I'm not going to discount all the venture groups out there, but some do. But it's 80-20 rule, right? It's like 20% of them do and 80% of them don't.
Yes.
And it's a different animal. So we think we actually going to become more critical in the type of DNA companies we're looking for right now, just because this year is a critical year in the evolution of AI and how it's going to play itself out in the landscape of technology in general. So we have to just be attuned and open and put your finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
To make sure you are not being oblivious to what's happening in the marketplace, but it's a significant year. So we'll see. And with DeepSeek, coming to the market, it went from two startups competing to each other to the bigger tech, elephants, playing against each other. And with the DeepSeek, it's now become a competitive landscape between countries.
Very well said. Very well said. It's national pride now in a bigger or lesser sense.
You remember the Russian was sending
the race
Sputnik
I was going to say the space race. We
they
have the
actually
analogies.
beat the U.S.
They did to space, but not to the moon.
Right, because that's what created the space program in the U.S.
Exactly.
So I think the DeepSeek is a wake-up call, not just to the U.S., but for every country in the world to realize that the next frontier is going to be the dominance or the control of AI, and companies will have to invest enormous amount of money to compete in the next level. So now with Trump in power, I think U.S. is going to invest tremendous amount of money into AI because you cannot let China be the leading force.
No, you have to make sure that at least you're staying competitive,
Right.
and we have the ability to spend money on things like
Right.
that can make it happen.
So, and by the way, I mean, for anybody that's listening out there, if you're a founder of a company, if you go to birminghamangels.org or CitySide Venture, we have a whole page with our investment guidelines, which is outlines very specifically and very broken down. What do we say yes to? What do we say no to? So we really recommend any of you that wants to pitch us to actually go through the guidelines to make sure that you find yourself qualified in one way or another, because otherwise it's going to be a waste of time.
And prepare when you do come to pitch.
Right.
Doron, this has been awesome and amazing. I always love chatting with you. I learned so much. So thank you for everything as always.
Thank you too, and we'll continue.
Good luck and good on you.
Are you interested in becoming a member and joining our group? Please contact Doron York by phone 248-981-6688 or visit our members' website by using the following QR code. We are looking forward to talking to you soon.